Wow, that's strong.
Hi, Professor. This
Hello.
is my friend Austin. He brought me on his vacation. I'm pretty fortunate for that. So we're heading the boardwalk, but we're gonna have this discussion on the things that I learned about in the lectures. Austin, I'm going to explain really quick what I got out of it. So decisions, basically, based on ethical philosophy. And what we just do in our lives are always dependent on some prior existing action or thought or anything, noun, and those things that everything currently is dependent on, it just keeps stepstoning down, and it's always dependent on something. And okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
and that was just the third lecture, and then the fifth lecture talked about motivation, freedom, and how actions that we commit and just do in our everyday lives are either intrinsic or extra. How do you say it?
Intrinsic or extrinsic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Extrinsic, and basically that's just saying that we either do things based off of what our moral decisions are, and
Right. It's
either
inside or outside. It's
either
because of yourself or because of someone else.
Yeah, so it's either you want to do something because you want to do it for own personal gain, and personal things in yourself for moral benefit, or just personal enjoyment, or there's tasks and actions you do to have in reality worldly gain, so gain of money, getting farther in the job.
Right, that makes sense.
So in these, I had to answer some questions, and from what I got out of reading the lectures and just trying intertwining those with what I experience on a day-to-day basis, I kind of am under the impression that the institutions that make the environment, the air that we breathe, just how we live, everything is based off of the government and just political structures.
Okay.
And what I said from that was that these political structures are based off of relying on things that were written in the past, and basically everything just is always influenced by things that are structurally man-made. So the idea of freedom in a Declaration of Independence is a written man-made bill,
Right?
And it's this belief system that what most things that we do are, I think anyway, based off of just man-made structures, and who knows what really defines what we should believe in.
Right.
What are our morals? So I don't know, I don't know how these discussions are supposed to work, but what I was just gonna think of is trying to apply this idea of what do these actions, current events, what's happening in the media, how does that correlate to whether it's their own decision, or if it's something they're doing for someone else, for a person, for a object gain, and how that it just falls upon previous events. How would you what would you like to say about that? I know, take a second. It is overwhelming. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things that have been going on, the shootings and the bombings, I mean that's definitely not an intrinsic. What was it? Intrinsic gain, or whatever it was.
What would you think it is?
It would be definitely extrinsic, because that's groups and groups of different people kind of pushing each other towards the wrong end. I don't know. It just with ISIS, or things happening with the Black Lives Matter and police, what really sets aside like their actions. Like with police, when you see like a police battery or whatever,
Mhm.
it's you don't think, oh, they're doing that for the state. That's kind of their
Yeah.
own. That's kind of their own thing.
That
But
would be
then,
more intrinsic then because it's
yeah,
more personal.
yeah, and then and then for like things like ISIS, I feel like that's more of an extrinsic. That's kind of everyone. That's a something put into your beliefs by other people,
Hmm.
and that's they kind of molded the way you think. And if you would have grown up in a different part of the world, your
Mhm.
thinking would have been different. So I think that would definitely be kind of extrinsic.
Yeah. To see with me, I think it's like you're kind of like conflicted because is it intrinsic or extrinsic? Like, it always falls back on each other, I think, in a sense that you want to break it down with current events. Black Lives Matter and ISIS are both very demoralizing, like, actions that are happening. Um, but they actually have, like, different, like, things that they,
Believe it.
like, believe in and rest on, and just, like,
Yeah.
what they're trying to gain is. So, like, Black Lives Matter is a group, which is kind of, this is going to be weird, is a group of people that do not have the same, like, equal rights as other people. So they're trying to fight for those equal rights.
Right.
And they're this is like the conflicting thing is they're doing it because they want like an intrinsic value to like be equal.
Right. But then
But
also,
then ISIS is also doing intrinsic stuff based off of intrinsic like beliefs as well because they're trying to devastate other people's nations in order and create havoc for personal gain due to like religion.
right,
But religion's man-made, which is like kind of like
in itself
Yeah,
almost a paradox
it's
or
just like
contradiction.
yeah, like it like all falls back. I think that's why I'm saying I think everything falls back on like man-made structures.
So everything, well, yeah. Obviously, if life had just kept going and there had been no rules set, I don't think there would have been. There definitely wouldn't have been as much happening in the world
Yeah,
by now. We'd still be running around with rocks and sticks. I think.
yeah. It's like the idea that like everything we can't like it always dates back to something like every action, thought process, and in our minds
Right.
intrinsically because the idea that everything goes back to being man-made because we don't know a set point that doesn't rely on its prior.
Right.
And it's like kind of like the confusing thing. Like, how do you determine what's actually like what is actually like a personal desire or a desire because of what something else wants?
Yeah, I think actually my sociology teacher had a whole class this past semester, and it was just about free will and what really is free will. And he just went on to say how, yeah, you always think it's like you want to do something, you want something, you feel something, you think some sort of way, and you think it's free, like your own doing, but really there's outside forces like kind of molding your brain and your mind and your wants and your needs, and yeah, depending on where you live a completely different life, and some morals are forgotten some places where others
Yeah,
there are tons of morals or whatever. It all depends on where you are and the outside values that are being displayed.
yeah.
Really.
So I I just want to like end this discussion in a little bit with the idea of like you're always one for like conspiracies and is so I wrote in here how like we also have this air that is created by these institutions that like basically we breathe and everyone like goes along with, and this idea that like what am I trying to think of? So like political, like the idea of political change, like Hillary Clinton running for president, right? So so listen, but what I'm saying is she is implementing she's a part of the people, as well as cops, are implementing this man-made, like, ethical code.
Right.
Our Constitution.
But at the same time, with breaking it.
But the thing is, where does it stem from? Like, this ethical code is like a man-made work, but we have these people, like, demeaning that by manipulating this implementation of
rules.
Yeah, but that's okay.
They're turning around and they're breaking.
But that's okay. Right, that's okay. But then, when people do the same in the public, when they respond to these negative implementations of this man-made written like set of rules, and they react extremely, like it's not okay. So like, who says it?
Rules are
like, why is it?
Rules are only meant to be broken by certain people, I guess, and like. Just with the recent email scam, whatever, with Clinton, Edward Snowden put out all this classified information in order to kind of tell everybody what was going on behind their backs, the American people, and was by the public was seen more as like a hero of some type. Kind of like I can't think of the word, but just kind of like a hero, just being able to awaken people to some of the truths, and then he's wanted for treason, and then Hillary Clinton is lying to the public and telling them that she never put out any classified information, and she did, and she's still running for president, and there's a very good chance she might be president.
Also, the computer that had the information, just this is off the sidetracking, but the computer that had the information was like unsecure.
Yeah.
Like what?
Unsecure. Yeah.
It's like, I don't like. What do you like? Just like we're talking about, like what are your motives here? Like, are you doing this for a personal gain, or are you doing this because? Like off a belief system, or are you doing this because you're gonna get like some money?
Oh,
fun fact: she charges her like security the Secret Service the amount that she charges them is equal to like live there is equal to the amount of her mortgage. So I don't know.
Dang,
that's crazy, right? Yeah. So because Bill Clinton gets service because he got
and she charges them.
Yeah, it's
they have to live there by law, and she charges them to do it. So that's awful. You don't need a $10 million mansion.
Ranch.
I'm
saying like the rants that we're going on.
Oh, rants.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good enough talk. Definitely thought provoking and a nice thing to do on like vacations. Especially around the after the dinner table talking. It's fun.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna end this. Have a good day.
I'll probably be on another video.
Yeah. We'll see you.